Hey Casabangs crew, welcome back. We are on video number 4, which is all about Erikson's theory. This is still social development, right? Still social development. We haven't changed into a different type. It's just Erikson's theory is very long, so we decided to do it in a video all on its own. So Erikson is a psychoanalyst, and he studied under Sigmund Freud. So a lot of his theory has to do with some similar concepts about childhood trauma affecting, how your mental health and how your personality is developed, but it also is applied to how you develop socially in your world. So he combines a couple of different concepts. He combines his belief in psychoanalysis in addition to biology. So he believes that there are innate drives that develop social relationships and promote survival, okay? Just like Darwin said, only the fittest survive, okay? So he divided the entire lifespan from birth to death into 8 psychosocial stages. That's what he called them. So psychosocial stages. And each stage is associated with a different drive and a different issue or problem or crisis that had to be solved within that stage. And if it was not solved, there were negative results or there were positive results. And he said that you could fall along a continuum, so along a line of like negative on one side and positive on the other. You would fall somewhere along that continuum. So when we introduce the stages, we're going to name the stage. We're going to give you an age range. We're going to give you the issue. And then we'll give you what happens if you positively resolve it and what happens if you negatively resolve it. Right? So there's a lot of information here. All right. So the first stage occurs from birth to 1 year old. And the issue is trust versus mistrust. And really, we name these stages based on the issue. Okay, so the name of the stage is trust versus mistrust. And that is the issue. Okay, so the issue here is that infants have to rely on other people to take care of them. They have to rely on their parents to feed them, to change their diaper, to make sure they're clothed, to make sure they're bathed. Okay, they count on parents, older adults, to be able to take care of them. So the issue is if they are taken care of, okay, if they are fed when they are hungry and if they are changed when they are dirty, if their needs are consistently and dependably met, then that leads to a sense of trust in the baby, right? They trust that their needs will be met and taken care of. If they are not well cared for, if they are neglected, then they will develop this sense of mistrust. All right, stage 2 is from 1 to 3 years old, and this stage is called autonomy versus shame and doubt. Okay, autonomy versus shame and doubt. And the issue here is that children are discovering their own independence. What Erikson talked about a bit here was potty training, okay? Potty training during this time period. So those that are given the opportunity to experience independence will gain a sense of autonomy. So if you've ever been around toddlers, they are always saying, no, me do it. Or they brush you off. They want to do stuff on their own. They want to explore their world on their own. They want to go look at that toy, or they want to walk without holding your hand, something like that. That's what they mean by this their own independence. You may have to let them get dressed on their own, even though they are putting the craziest outfit together. But that gives them this sense of independence, and eventually it'll give them a sense of autonomy. If you're not doing that, if you are restraining your child, or if you are punishing your child, or if you are criticizing your child and being like, why are you putting that pink top with those purple pants? That doesn't match. That doesn't work. Then the child is going to develop this idea of shame and doubt, right? And that's what Erikson said is the positive outcomes will influence their social interactions for the rest of their life, but so do the negative outcomes, right? These negative outcomes can influence how they react to other people or in social situations for the rest of their lives. All right, stage 3 is initiative versus guilt. So this is 3 to 5 years old, so preschool age roughly. Children are exposed to the wider social world and given greater responsibility. Okay, they go to preschool. This might be the time period where parents start to give them very small chores to do, like you have to make your bed when you get out of it, or you have to, put your clothes in the dirty clothes hamper, or something like that. They're given very, very small responsibilities. If the child is Okay, sorry about that. If the child is able to take on that responsibility and is given responsibility and does it successfully, then this leads to a feeling of initiative. And initiative is basically doing things when you know that they need to be done without being told that they need to be done. Okay, just taking care of the things that you know need to be accomplished. But if the child is felt to be irresponsible or is constantly like nagged at or picked on for not doing things the right way, then they can feel this sense of guilt. Okay? And again, like I said, this follows them throughout their life. Okay, stage 4, 5 to 12 years old. So elementary into middle school age is industry versus inferiority. So this is the time where children are going to school, okay? They're gaining a ton of knowledge. It's all about what you learn and learning those intellectual skills that you learn while you're in school. So if you're successful in school, if you're getting the A's and B's, if you are being, rewarded and patted on the back for doing hard work and for really trying in school and doing your reading and doing your math and those kind of things, then you have a sense of competence. Okay, you're good at it. So this competence leads to industry. If you are not felt or, you're not rewarded, you feel like you're not doing it very well, you're getting D's and F's, you're not, no one is really trying to figure out what is happening or trying to make sure that you learn it or try in different ways or helping you out with things, then you feel this sense of incompetence, which leads to a sense of inferiority. All right, stage 5, adolescence. This is the stage you guys are all in. So this is identity, excuse me, versus confusion. Sometimes this is known as identity versus role confusion. So if you see it that way, just be aware it's the same thing. So while you are an adolescent, you are developing who you are, who you want to be, and what you want to do later on in life. If you successfully discover who you are, what's important to you, what you want to do with the rest of your life, then it leads to a positive identity. You're happy with who you are. If you do not successfully resolve these questions and these issues, then it can lead to identity confusion or to a negative sense of identity. So identity confusion, you don't know who you are, or a negative identity where you are maybe one person to your parents, but you're a completely different person to your friends. And as a teenager, that's totally normal. That's completely normal. By the time you get out of your adolescence, 20, 21, 22, those people should merge into one person that you're comfortable being in front of everybody that you know. All right, stage 6, young adulthood. This is mostly in your 20s. maybe into early 30s. So this is, the name of the stage is intimacy versus isolation. So this stage is all about relationships, okay? And these are long-term relationships. So you are finding your mate, your significant other. So this is the time for sharing yourself 100% completely, all the good stuff, all the bad stuff with another person. If you successfully get over this issue or this crisis, if you can hold a commitment, then that leads to a sense of intimacy. If you cannot establish commitments, if you are afraid of commitment, then this could lead to feelings of isolation because you do not have another person to share your life with. All right, stage 7, middle adulthood. Okay, we're talking usually like late 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe even into 60s here. And this stage is generativity versus stagnation. So this is the time period where you're caring for other people's, you're caring for your family, you're caring for your friends, you're caring for your job, maybe your coworkers, the people that you're working with. And it gives you this sense of leaving your mark on the world. So contributing to later generations, particularly if you have children. So you are raising your children in the best way that you can so that they become successful human beings for that next generation. So that's what that idea of generativity is, that you are contributing to making that next generation as successful and as awesome as they possibly can be. So if you are unsuccessful in this issue or in this crisis, you can feel a sense of stagnation. And stagnation comes from this sort of boredom with what you're doing, or that your life is meaningless, that you're stuck, okay? Like stagnation is being stuck. You're not doing anything great. You're just kind of And I always use the example of this. Most of you know that I was in the business world for about 19, 20 years after I got out of college. I was in management. And I went through this like sense of stagnation. Like the last job that I had was at Starbucks, and I used to call it life and death coffee. Like, what am I doing? I'm making coffee and selling coffee to people. Like, how is that important? How is that affecting anybody's life? And while I managed and I had great employees that were under me, and I did wonderful things, and met a lot of really great people, it wasn't enough. And it was at that point where I was like, you know what? I need to be doing something more important with my life. And I decided to go and be a teacher. And it was something that I had been wanting to do ever since I was in high school, and I just never did it. So that's where, like, now I feel like I have that sense of generativity, because I am contributing not only with my family, but with students that I encounter in school. I'm contributing to those later generations. That's why you often see people going through like what's called a midlife crisis, or you may see job changes or just other things, changes in middle-aged people's lives. And then the last stage is this late adulthood to death, so 60s and beyond. The last stage is integrity versus despair. So this point in your life, you're kind of looking back on everything that you've done with your life. And if you have successfully resolved all of those previous stages, all of those previous crises, then that leads to the sense of integrity, that I have done the right things in my life. You can see these broad truths, and you can advise the younger generations, right? So think of grandparents that are retired, okay? And they're, now they're maybe you're doing volunteer work, or they're helping out their families or whatever. They've learned a lot in their lives, and they want to pass on that knowledge to the younger generations. Despair comes from those feelings that I haven't done what I'm supposed to do. I'm not finished yet. I haven't done what I was put on this earth to do. So you may have a sense of like helplessness or bitterness that your life is incomplete and you're coming to the end of your life, and you might be dealing with the thought of leaving this earth, and you don't feel complete. You don't feel like you have done everything that you wanted to do. So that leads to that sense of despair. Okay, so that is it. We are going to watch this Disney and Erikson in class tomorrow. There is a lot of information here, and I know it can be really confusing. We are going to do tons of practice on Erikson because it is something that is always shows up on the AP exam. So it is definitely something that we want to make sure that we are practicing and that you are very well versed in. Please come into class with any questions, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.